It's not Christmas, but it feels like it. What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a great day. This is Mark with Hindsight, and this is the next phase of my project. I have been waiting for this radiator since late June. Wanted it for the Street Rod Nationals, but they had to make a new one, and I am just super happy. This is a B-Body Mopar B-Cool radiator that's rated up to 1,000 horsepower. This is the exact same radiator that Cam has on his 1970 Roadrunner, and he did not have any issues whatsoever when he was driving to Louisville. And so in this episode, I'm going to replace my existing radiator with this one. It is going to take some minor modifications, so I'm just going to record going through that process. So first step is draining the radiator. Step 2, I need to remove the battery because the battery tray needs to be relocated over so that it has room for the radiator. And to get the fan out, or to get the radiator out, I need to remove my electric fan setup for the front. If I take the front ones off, I should be able to pull this off. Here we go. So here is a side-by-side comparison of the old radiator and the new one. You can see they're definitely different design. This one's, the old one is a Lilin Global, I think. It's a top-down, typical radiator, and then you've got the B-Cool, which is a cross-flow. So the water actually goes that way rather than down. And you can see they're much different footprint. I did some measurements on them. Let's see if I can get that. So here's the old one, and I measured the core size, 25 3/4 inch by 17 1/4. I measured the inside tubes, and they look to me like 5/8 inch tubes, which gives us a square inch of 444. And then if you do the same measurements on the new radiator, it's basically 2 inches wider, which gives us a 478 square inch core of cooling surface area. And also the new B-Cool has 1 inch tubes instead of 5/8. So I think all of that equates to a much better radiator. And there you go. All right, so it is a new day. I stopped working last night because I wanted to think about this and make sure I'm going in the right direction. Talked to everybody on the Hindsight crew, and so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to relocate this windshield washer fluid to the other side, pretty much in the exact same spot, maybe a little different, no big deal. That should be easy peasy. And then I'm going to notch the fender similar to this kind of pattern all the way up to here. So I'll have to take this off and kind of notch it and maybe bring it down just a bit, and then have the battery sit almost, you know, the pan is going to be flush with this line, and that will give me the clearance I need, and hopefully I won't have to rewire everything and run new cables and blah blah blah, but that's the plan. So I'm going to have to make a cut along here so that I can bring it in, and probably a cut along here so that I can tuck it in, and then figure out where I need to make the shelf and do some fabrication. So this is going to be fun. First thing first, I need to get this wheel off and get it on jack stands so that I can really access it from the inside, from underneath, and take that bolt and get to work. Okay, got the wheel off. I think I'm going to take this inner fender off, and that will give me access to see what's going on. I mean, there's a lot of bolts to take off, but I think in the long run it'll be easier to do this job. And then I'm going to have to heat this up to get this, it's kind of like a bed liner kind of thing, you know, the protection. So I'm going to have to take that off because I'm going to be most likely welding. So I'll do that. So here's what we're looking at. Inner fender is out, and see if we can get that set up. So basically from like right here, this is gonna do like this is, I don't know if you can see it, where it's got the little step in. So I pretty much have access to everything. I just need to get this protecting off. Okay, so I need to get this stuff off. I am going to use this, heat it up, and normally I would use like a putty knife, but the closest thing I could find is an old chisel, so I'm gonna give that a shot. So there's nothing that's kind of sketchy. Protect the other side because it's going to get super hot. Got my welding blanket. Just gonna tuck it in here and pull the wires up so that they're the other end of said blanket. Okay, let's try this again. All I'm going to do is just kind of heat it up till it gets kind of smoky, and then hopefully this will just break right up. Smoky. And burn your hand. Stuff going down. All right, I'm just gonna clean this up. All right, today's the big day. The point of no return day. So here's my plan, is to make a cut here, make a cut here, and make a cut up here. Probably gonna, I'm on the wrong side of this edge, so more along the lines of here. Not going to cut up here. And then I'm basically gonna bring the metal back so that I can build this edge. This is gonna stick out way far. I'm gonna see if I can maybe straighten that out, but ultimately my goal right now is just to be able to bring this back so that I can test fit the battery tray, make sure it's gonna, because I need it to butt all the way up to here. And then I'll just kind of shape this shelf and then get some regular 18 gauge steel and fill in the gaps. Now when I put that outer fender liner that runs along here, that is obviously going to be a problem here because this needs to come out here, so I'll have to modify that as well, but it is what it is. All right, so here is my first test fit. Let's see if you can see this. You can see the radiator is going to sit on this frame rail. I mean, the engine and the radiator is offset anyway, so that, you know, makes all the hoses. The hoses should connect fine, blah, blah, blah. And then I still have to straighten out the battery tray, but I'm also going to bring this down a little more so that it doesn't have any problems. But the fit, I think, is going to work. I will have to do something creative to get this bend. But I mean, battery is all the way over. It's on that little lip. And so I'm going to have to, I want to massage this one to make it look, this one's bent, this side's bent a little more than the other side, just so that it's not going to interfere, where the other one is kind of still the original fender. So I think this is going to work. All right, so today is a good day. Today is the day that I get to do some welding. So just so everybody knows, I am a beginning welder, so I hope you're not watching this so that you can see how a professional does it. If anything, I'm the one that says, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So I'll be that guy. Anyway, I got it. I got the battery pan placed the way I want it. So basically now I'm going to weld up till here so that I can make a gradual curve and make a shelf just like this. So I'm just going to tack this, and then the next step would be to build a template that's going to roughly do what this same pattern here I want to do on this side. So start with a tack weld. Way too much material.
So little broken hearted. Yeah. God
is a new day. I've got the box basically welded in. My welds are pretty crappy, I'm not gonna lie, but I told you that I was not a professional welder. I'm a beginning welder, but cut that template out and got that in. I had trouble seeing, and I think I had trouble with not having it cleaned up on the backside well enough, and the welds got real weird, but I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up and see what I got left. I like to use the Dremel for tight spots where it's curved like that, because then I can really get in there and not damage and thin out any of the other metal.
No tears will I ever cry for the man turn a blind eye. While his brother died, no chance will he ever see the least bit of sympathy. Just to taste the reality. I'm just gonna say not yet where I wanna be. At least I ain't living on my knees. My God, wise man once said to me, be the change that you wanna see. Yeah, been looking for another place to be, 'cause I don't like what's under my feet. No, by the time I finally look to see, somebody's snatched away from me, but I'll be damned if I'm standing for it. No, I'll be damned if I.
All right, so I've come to the decision that I'm gonna make a cut here, because this metal is getting way off and it's just gonna be more of a mess. So it looks good here, looks good here, so I'm just gonna finish that off and then make a plate from scrap that's gonna do that little bend but be straight, and just kind of mold it in, hopefully. All right, so I cut out that template that I made, and I had to run it through the bead roller to get this little crossover. I don't know, just a step to give it some rigidity, some strength. So I pulled out the bead roller, put that in, and I tacked it all four corners in place, and then started cutting it with the Dremel. And then once I got like the bottom done, then I push it in and tack it. And it's super ugly welds, but hopefully I can clean those up and make them look halfway decent. And I will keep on going. so today I welded the inside and grinded it down. It's the welds are still a little bit thick. I mean, you can kind of feel them, but I would rather have them thick and strong rather than trying to make it look pretty, but then the metal be super thin and flimsy. So basically, here's what the tray looks like. Sits in there, and then there's 2 bolts that will screw it to the core support. I'll probably find where one of these, there's this one, and then that one is one of these inner fender bolts. I could screw into there, or I can make a new hole and put a nut there. But basically, screw it down, and then this part should be done. So I'm pleased. I don't know, I'd probably give myself a C+ as far as how well I did this job. I'm still learning. I'm still learning the MIG welder and trying to get clean welds and getting it so that it looks better. So this was a good exercise for me, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And here's what it looks like with the POR 15 on it. So everything's protected in hindsight, you know, because that's kind of what our channel's about. Self-reflection. I wonder if it would have been better / easier / look better product at the end if I would have custom made the shelf and not tried to use any of the old stuff. I wonder if I would have just made a template and figured out where it was going to touch everything and cut that out, if that would have looked a little more professional. I don't know. In my head, I'm thinking, I could have done better. How could I have done better? And so that's where my hindsight comes in. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm open to suggestions on how to do it better next time. Okay, so here's I got the outer fender notched out for it, and so here's what it looks like. I still need to put that like rhino lining looking stuff, the protective coating on it. But it's basically in place and should be good to go. So I'm going to start working on the radiator, which was what all this was for in the first place. Next step, battery is in, the tire's back on, it's back on 4 wheels. You can kind of see everything's pretty much covered with, all my work is covered, but it does what I need to do. The battery is moved over. It is moved out of the way. And the next step or phase that I did was I opened this opening up a little more for the radiator. The radiator is wider because it's a cross flow, and it pretty much was right here to right here. So several inches of space that was going to be covered on the core. So this side I did previously with the old radiator, just to kind of get the full core opened up to this, and cut down here, boxed it out, welded it in, grinded it a little bit, but again, kept it thick to keep it strong. So then this side I just did, and basically did the same thing, and I'll show you what this looks like with the radiator in place. This is basically just kind of set into place. It's crooked, and I'll show you why here in a minute, but you can see, you know, it comes very close to opening up to the full core, which I'm hoping will give me the most cooling power. So then the next thing I need to do is, well, let me show you how the bottom of these install. So apparently the bottom of these B-Body Mopar, because this B-Cool radiator is from a 70s Roadrunner. It's the same one in a B-Body Charger. So it's basically the same thing that Cam's got, but they have these little posts that are supposed to connect to the frame rail. And it's probably no surprise that my frame rail width is wider than a B-Body. So you can see right here where those posts have been scratching the paint a little bit as I test fit. So what I plan on doing is drilling a hole wide enough for that to fit in. And then on this side, because this is an off-centered setup, it's closer. The radiator is closer to that side, the passenger side fender. So I like the way it sits when it's on this frame rail. So I'm going to basically build a bracket that comes up from this frame rail and then has the same hole on it. And then I can just kind of use that whole factory setup to fasten at the bottom. And then all I got to do is the top. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. So here is the bracket that is just some scrap that I had. And I'm going to cut it here, bend it here, and then this is going to be the hole for the radiator slip into. So it'll kind of mount on the frame like such. I will bend this backwards and then use this for try to line up the hole and get that to fit. And then I'll probably drill maybe a second smaller hole here and then have two to hold it in place. But we'll work on that here in a minute. So I basically got it in there. It's not bolted to the frame yet, but I have it level. So now I just need to mark a hole for that and then do a second hole just to keep it straight, and I should be golden. And the beauty is I have access. I got access through here, so I can easily, if I need to get a wrench in there to take that out for some reason, totally doable. So here's what it looks like up top. I want to make sure before I do any marking and drill a hole in my frame that I like the way it looks from the top, and I think it looks great. I think it looks level, and I'm gonna make sure that the fan isn't hitting the hood. So I'm going to take a little bit of grease and put it right there. And don't make it super high, but make it a bit high. And then bring the hood down and close it and see if I get any marks on the roof. And I'm definitely hitting. So that was important. That was really important. Got to bring it down. Okay, so let's try this again. I basically made new brackets here, and rather than go down just to hold this in, I went up, and that way I can screw it to the cross support, and I'll be done. So it is a little bit lower. Before this lip was above here, so I probably dropped it a ½ inch. So let's see what this does now. Fingers crossed. Well, it closed at least. And no greasy. So you could see it at least has that much height in it. So that was a learning lesson. That was a newbie failure there. So I think I'm almost done. I'm going to finish this, installing this tonight. I'm going to screw a hole here, put a bolt here on both sides, and get that bottom bracket in place. So then at this point, the radiator will be mounted, and then I have to deal with hoses and the transmission lines. As you see, this transmission line has to make somewhat of a drastic turn, so I have to run those lines. So, But once that's done, and I don't know if the bottom radiator hose, no, that is not going to work. It is way up here, and it thinks it's supposed to be way down there. So that's not even close. So I'm going to have to figure something out on this. Good times. But the other thing that I was worried about is clearance. And clearance is actually better on this radiator than the other one. And I just put my hand in the grease. So once again, I show my talents. But I will persevere. This thing will be done this weekend. All right, so radiator is installed. It's mounted, I think, well. Everything is kind of how I was hoping to put it, and as you can see, you know, it's using the whole space. So I should get all the cooling power I can. The electric fan is installed, so now I need to see if I need to get a new hose because because it's a cross flow. Both the inlet and the outlet are not even close. Like this one's way down here, so I need to I've taken some baling wire and kind of shaped it in the length and the bends that I want, and then I'm going to go to the auto parts store now and see if I can get something that will work. And then I need to get some NICOP. I'm going to use that for my transmission cooler lines and run new ones there. So once I get that, I'm done. All right, I just got back from the auto store, and I think it was successful. I got this that, you know, it's a little long, but it's not touching anything. It's not binding. I think that's going to work for that. And then I found a bottom one that does the exact curve that I wanted or needed. So I think the hoses are all ready, so I am down to the last step of running new transmission lines. All right, so transmission lines are in. I tried to make as graceful of a bend as I could to keep the flow. Underneath the battery, it wasn't a big deal. And then run it just like the other line, and looked it up on the internet to figure out which one was the pump to radiator and which one was the return line. So everything is fastened. I have water in it right now. Hooked the battery back up. I think I have everything in place. I have water in it now just in case there's a leak. I don't want to waste antifreeze. So next step is to give it a start and see what kind of leakage we have. This is the point where you say, what did I forget? Let's get this up. Got my screen. Fuel pump. That's working. See if I'm leaking anything. Normal. Nothing leaking from the transmission lines. That's good. All right. Let her warm up, at least till the fan kicks on. Make sure that's still working. All right, so it is 88 degrees out right now, and we are are currently running 187. That's not bad. And it's just water. And it may be low on water because there was, I haven't run it through. So I'm going to run it through a couple more times and see how it goes. Vroom, vroom. All right, if you've made it this far, I want to thank you very much for watching. At this point, I'm calling this project good. I think the radiator is working great. I haven't had any leaks, and this should make a huge improvement on the drivability of this car.